The day SpongeBob stopped laughing. The sponge that never stopped smiling. Bikini Bottom was always bright, always cheerful, and SpongeBob SquarePants was the reason why. No matter what happened, whether Squidward yelled at him, Mr. Krabs overworked him, or jellyfish stung him, he just laughed it off. His happiness was infectious, a sponge that never stopped smiling. But then, one day, he just stopped. No giggling, no jokes, no singing, just silence. And that's when Bikini Bottom began to fall apart. The first signs of something wrong. It was a Monday morning at the Krusty Krab. The restaurant should have been filled with the usual sizzle of burgers, the hum of customers, and SpongeBob's annoying but endearing laughter. But when Mr. Krabs unlocked the doors, something was off. There was no SpongeBob at the grill, no cheerful greeting, nothing. Then Squidward noticed him. SpongeBob was standing at the register, not bouncing, not smiling, just standing there, his eyes too wide, his pupils too small, his body completely still, like he wasn't even breathing. Squidward waved a tentacle in front of his face. Nothing. Finally lost your voice, SquarePants? He scoffed. No reaction. Mr. Krabs walked over, giving SpongeBob a hard shove. SpongeBob didn't even blink. Boy, what's gotten into you? Krabs growled. We got customers, get flippin'. Still, no response. Just that same wide-eyed stare. But then, slowly, SpongeBob turned his head. Crack, his neck twisted too far like a puppet with broken strings. And then, he smiled. Not his usual goofy grin, not his warm, cheerful beam. This was different, frozen, stiff, painted on, like it wasn't really his smile, just something he was wearing. Then, without moving his lips, he spoke. I can hear them now. The Krusty Krab went dead silent. Mr. Krabs and Squidward stared at him. Who? Squidward muttered. SpongeBob didn't blink. He just kept smiling. The ones under the sand. And then he laughed. But it wasn't SpongeBob's usual happy giggle. It was distorted, wrong, like multiple voices laughing at once. A sound that made Squidward's skin crawl. The doors to the Krusty Krab burst open, but no customers walked in. Just the wind howling through the empty streets. SpongeBob turned his head toward the doorway, and then he stopped laughing and never laughed again. First disappearance. The next morning, SpongeBob was gone. Patrick knocked on his door. No answer. He knocked again, harder, still nothing, so he pushed it open and staggered backward. The inside of SpongeBob's house was wrong. It wasn't cozy or messy like before. It was just empty. No furniture, no decorations, just walls and walls of paintings. Paintings of SpongeBob's face, each one identical except for the eyes. Some were too big, some were too many, and some were looking at Patrick. And in the middle of the room, a clarinet snapped in half. Patrick's breath hitched. Squidward, he ran to Squidward's house. He banged on the door. Nothing. He tried the doorknob. The door swung open effortlessly, and inside, there was nothing. No paintings, no furniture, no clarinets, just bare walls, like Squidward had never even lived there, like he had never existed. Patrick backed away, trembling. Something was very, very wrong. And then the power went out. Streetlights flickered off, jellyfish fields fell silent. And as Patrick turned toward the Krusty Krab, he saw SpongeBob standing in the middle of Bikini Bottom, alone, smiling. The lost episode. The disappearances continued. First Squidward, then Sandy, then Mr. Krabs. One by one, the entire town vanished, until all that was left was SpongeBob, standing in the middle of an empty Bikini Bottom, just grinning. And that's when people started talking about the lost episode, a strange, cursed episode that had never aired. It wasn't on TV, it wasn't on DVDs, it just appeared on random computers, on broken VHS tapes, on old forgotten hard drives. The episode had no theme song, no title card, just static. Then, after 4 minutes of nothing, a single frame, SpongeBob, standing alone, his arms stiff at his sides, his eyes wide, unblinking, the town completely deserted. And then he moved. Not like an animation, like something was wearing him, something inside him. His mouth didn't move, but his voice, flat, empty, cold. Do you see me now? The screen glitched. The Krusty Krab, empty. Goo Lagoon, still. Jellyfish fields, silent. Then, a close-up of SpongeBob's face, his grin stretching too wide, his eyes locking onto the screen, and then, in that same dead voice, he whispered, "I see you too." The screen cut to black. The episode was never found again. But the next morning, the person who watched it was never seen again.